Hi, so in preparation for Thursday's session when we're doing paper collage, I'm going to paint some pieces of paper to use in the collage. I have got coloured paper, but it's quite, actually painted paper is really nice because you can add a little bit of variety and still keep the collage going. That's actually how Matisse did it. Matisse painted sheets of paper and then cut them out. Usually I think they were just painted flat, but some of you might know the book The Hungry Caterpillar, and that's an example of illustrations that are made with collage when the artist has painted the paper with a variety of tones and then cut the pieces out. I'm just going to use old sketchbook pages, or things that I don't particularly need to keep, just so as not to waste them. Bits might show through depending on what paint I use, but that doesn't really matter because I'm going to cut it out, so any bits that show through will just be a little bit of natural variety. I've got two lots of paint to use. One is these kind of poster paints, I suppose they are. Very cheap kids paints. They'll work perfectly well. They'll just make a slightly less vivid, dense pigment. And I've got, as you can see up here, I've got quite a big collection of sample pots that I just keep adding to because the paints are quite nice and flat. You can rinse them with water, and it's only £3 a pot. It's actually quite a good way of getting some paint for a lot of general purposes. So yeah, I've put newspaper down, so you'll probably want to do the same because you can paint up to the edges then. And the thing you might want to do as well is work out where you're going to let these dry. If you can hang them up somewhere, that's great because it takes up less space. But if you're going to dry them on a table, you probably want to put some newspaper down there as well. So, and I've got my mixing plate just in case I want to kind of mix up some of these or take a bit of paint off the brush. I've got a cloth to dry them so that when I change colour, and some water, and I've got a big brush for these paints and still quite a big one for these. So with this one, you can see there's still the image underneath, but that will be fine. I'm not making too much variety because I want enough space to be able to cut out significant areas of colour. But I don't need a whole sheet of orange or a whole sheet of blue because I'm not making a collage that's that big. So I'll just put that one to dry. And now I'm going to switch to my bigger colours. Paint doesn't need to be that thick. Sometimes if you're hiding stuff underneath, you can thicken it up a little. But you can see there's there's a bit of variety. And I'm going to stick with that because I think it'll look nice when I collage it. If you don't have large sheets of sketchbook paper, you can just use scrap copy paper. You can use fresh copy paper as well, but it's sort of a bit of a waste because even if I paint, I've got a plain side, but I'm actually going to put some paint over this side because a little bit of text showing through when I cut up my paper. Let's add another colour into this, some blue. A little bit of text showing through once it's cut up is not going to be a bad thing. It's probably going to be the opposite. So I'm just going to use it out of the lid, and then I don't have to worry about mixing up my colours too much. And you can see I'm being quite random. Don't have to be too careful about this. But there's a sheet which will be nice when it's cut up. Most of the paper will buckle a little bit. The thinner it is, the more it will buckle. But again, once you've cut it out and stuck it down, that's not going to be much of a problem. So So there you go. Those will dry in about 20 minutes and they'll be ready to use for some collage. See you tomorrow, I hope.